Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video just on DC TV on the CW as a whole. So of course, as we would all know, when it comes to news coming out regarding the CW and really any show attached to it, but for I guess for this video specifically, the DC shows, there hasn't been that, overly positive type of style of late. That hasn't really been the type of news that's been coming out. Most news that comes out just seems to do with cancellations and all that negative kind of stuff. Now, due to the change in ownership and also leadership at the CW, the fate of shows like Superman and Lois, for example, are up in the air. But what is also up in the air are the shows that were announced as being in development for most likely the upcoming pilot season that usually films in anywhere from February to April. One of these shows being Justice U, the John Diggle spin-off series that many assumed would be set up in the upcoming season of Superman and Lois after it moved from being an Arrowverse related show to a show now set on the Earth that Superman and Lois resides on. Now, the last we'd really heard about this was at an event that David Ramsey was in attendance at. I can't remember what specific event it was off the top of my head, but it was something where there was a press section and that's where he was talked to. But the latest update that he gave there was that they were working on the draft for the pilot episode and that they had just signed a new head writer or a new main writer to the show. And more importantly, the main thing he said, which that other stuff would, should suggest, just based off what I've just said there, is that the show is still in development and moving forward. Now, that was a few months ago. It wasn't like last week or anything like that. So there hasn't been much since that point, which would be a surprise because it would probably be in January, February, maybe even March, where they make an announcement whether their pilot is going to be filmed or not for Justice U potentially. But now the silence has actually come to an end, sort of, with David Ramsey giving us another update as to how things are going on the DC side of things for him personally. Now, I think this comment was left on a post from David Ramsey on Instagram where he was on the Superman and Lois set. It was like a selfie that he took, I guess. Maybe he's directing, I'm not too sure, but maybe it just might be him there to film scenes, as Diggle. It's important to remember that it was confirmed by both David and Todd Helbing, the showrunner for Superman and Lois, that Diggle would be in season 3 of Superman and Lois. So it could be directing, could be acting, could be both. But as you can see, Diego here, who I'm 99% sure is a subscriber on this channel, so shout out Diego if you are watching. I'm pretty damn sure you are, but anyway. But he wishes David a happy birthday and then asks about Justice U's status, also bringing up the mostly negative news barrage, if you want to call it, that has come our way over the past few months. And this is where David replies that he is thankful for people sticking around and, more importantly, that the smoke is clearing and that good stuff is in the works and I guess on its way, despite him not being able to jump into specifics. So yeah, what is going on here? Now, if you watched my video a couple of days ago, I think it was the Stephen Amell video where he talked about his, potentially being on season 9 anyway. I think it was that video from memory. I said that, yeah, I'd seen this stuff, but was waiting to hear back from someone on this who, might have some sort of added information or decent clarity. And I did hear back from them, but it's not that much of an update, unfortunately. So I asked if they knew of any sort of updates around the CW and its programming for next year, including the shows in development, with their response not being bad, but also not being much at the same time, with the update being that things are just moving ahead in a somewhat normal manner. They haven't heard anything in regards to shows that are in development being put on ice, if not just completely being, scrapped. So people are still showing up, people are still sitting there writing, all that good stuff in regards to positive stuff in regards to something being developed. So it's not much, but it's still something, I guess. But when David does say the smoke is clearing, what does he mean exactly? Well, I think the simple reasoning behind that would be that the new brass or leadership over at the CW now have everything lined up properly for the most part. They have a clear viewpoint and vision on the next 12 months, maybe even further at the very least, and what they want to commit to and all of that, like what shows they go, yeah, we're gonna fund that, we're gonna fund that, we're gonna fund that. This one, not too sure about. Keep it on the bubble. We'll see what we want to do with it. Maybe when its seasons end or something like that. And by David saying things in this way, it is a glimmer of hope that Superman and Lois has a future, but also Justice U. Now, I have seen people saying that David Ramsey can't be trusted for some reason, but everything he said was happening, well, before it was said anywhere else at the very least, was true. Superman and Lois was removed from the Flash's Earth, that there was not going to be any more Arrowverse shows, and that Justice U was moving. That's all been sort of pretty much confirmed for the most part. So he's been pretty accurate with what he said, so I don't know where this doubt for David is coming from. maybe I'm blind to it or something. I don't know. Now, one thing of interest with all of this is that James Gunn says he isn't against multiple versions of the same character at all existing on different platforms and different, you know, whether it's a movie, whether it's a show, whether that be animated or live action, whatever it is. He is for it. That's the whole point of the multiverse. The issue with this is that, of course, that goes in Superman and Lois's favor because there was all this issue around, okay, Henry Cavill's coming back as Superman. They're not going to want multiple versions of the same character. But James Gunn is like, well, hold on. I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. And it, you know, helps build up the multiverse. But one person who has said that they don't really want to do that is David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers. The big question around that is who gets the final say? Is it going to be the head of DC Studios, the quote-unquote Kevin Feige role that they wanted? Or is it going to be David Zaslav? Because if David Zaslav overrides James Gunn, then he's not allowing James Gunn and Peter Safran to be that Kevin Feige figure. He's not. He's going against his own words. So that's obviously the issue there, is that if Superman and Lois wants to continue that whole thing with like only allowing one character, that can't be or one version of a character, that can't really be a thing, can it? So in regards to Justice U, what are its legitimate chances of being a thing? And I think that honestly depends on Superman and Lois's fate. If Superman and Lois ends, you're not going to do Justice U, are you? What's the point? Like, what's the point? The whole point of Justice U, at least now, was to build upon this world that Superman and Lois is in. If Justice U happened and Superman and Lois was ended, you may as well have done Justice U in the Arrowverse, because it was already a built-up universe with built-up characters that you could bring back and use on the show. So that could be the backhanded punishment, I guess you could say, for some reason, if you from moving Justice U from the Arrowverse potentially, if Superman and Lois doesn't continue. But fingers crossed it does, and you're allowed to have these multiple shows there. And of course, there was always that talk that even Gotham Knights could potentially be on the Superman and Lois Earth, but that's if that show even progresses past its first season. I don't think they'd even try and make any connection there unless there's a chance that show does continue. But yeah, I think it's 50-50 the Justice U chances, I think. But it's also a very curious thing whether the show changes more than just the swap from the Arrowverse. Like, instead of just being, okay, well, it's the same type of, you know, premise that we pitched initially, but instead of the Arrowverse, it's in Superman and Lois's Earth. Are they going to change it where it's no longer like undercover college kids and it's something else like that? Like it's just a junior team, like almost like a Young Justice type thing. Is that what they're going to go with? And there's no school involved at all. Like, do they change the premise there? That'll be a very interesting thing. But yeah, in regards to all of this, hopefully we hear some more updates in the early parts of next year leading up to pilot season. As I said, I think pilot season can start as early as February and go into as like late as like April, if not late April and stuff like that. So it just depends on the network, I guess, what type of show it is, how long it takes, everything like that. So it's a wait and see. We might even hear before that, but I would expect somewhere in that January, February, maybe March area as to what's going on here. And usually they got to announce it before they even film, like say, okay, you know, pilot has been greenlit, and they start casting characters and stuff like that. And that's why you usually start to hear it in like January, February and stuff like that before they might start filming in March or April. So fingers crossed. The fact you're saying like the smoke is clearing is a good sign, but clearing to what? You know, smoke could clear and there's a seven-eyed monster that bites your head off. So who knows what's behind that smoke? That's a wait and find out. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we went over in this video. And what are your thoughts on the Justice U thing? Do you think it has a chance to come around? Are you confident in Superman and Lois's fate? I don't know if anyone would be like 100% confident on either, but obviously some people will be more confident than others. I think I'm like maybe like 60 to 70%, sorry, confident that Superman and Lois continues, but there is that slither of doubt just because of how other shows have been treated over the past, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or something like that, since either the transition from transitional ownership of the CW or the lead up to it. So yeah, it's hard to be like 100% confident, but more confident in Superman and Lois than Justice U, just because Justice U actually relies on Superman and Lois like continuing, I'm pretty sure. So, but yeah, but let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. I'm sure there'll be some varied opinions there. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Goodbye.